My name is Carlin Borisenko, and you are listening to the Actively Unwoke podcast. If you'd like to access back episodes of the podcast, please head over to activelyunwoke.com/podcast, where you can find links to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google, all the different places, and you can also access all of the archives as well. Thanks so much. All right, so we need to have the book banning conversation again. And I don't want to hear we're not banning books, because you are. Not all of you. Just the ones who are not listening. This is not a good look. This does not help us. This wins us exactly nothing, and it costs us everything. And no, you are not protecting your little darlings from learning about sex in school when you do this, and I'm going to explain why. But first, I want to read this article that showed up on Fox News' website last night, January 9th, 2023, at around 10 o'clock at night. The headline is Florida School District Bans Book about real-life gay penguin relationships, citing parental rights law. You banned a book about gay penguins. A true story about gay penguins. Conservatives, you done gone off the rails. A Florida school district banned a book about real-life same-sex penguin couple from classrooms and school libraries. And by the way, conservatives, before I hear any complaining about, we are banning books, I'm literally reading the Fox News article right now. And so Fox News is literally telling you you're banning books. If you have an issue with it, go take it up with them. The award-winning 2005 children's book And Tango Makes Three tells the story of a real-life same-sex penguin couple that creates a family together. Lake County Schools, located in Florida, told Fox News Digital on Monday that the book violates Florida law on teaching about sexual orientation and gender identity to kindergarten and third graders. We removed access to And Tango Makes Three for our kindergarten through third grade students in alignment with Florida HB 1557, which prohibits classroom instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity for those grade levels. It is a book about penguins. It's a book about penguins. This is not instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity, conservatives. And if you aren't going to ban every single book about straight couples, straight penguins, the Bernstein effing Bears, are you going to ban the Bernstein Bears? Because the Bernstein Bears seems to be a book about sexual orientation in a straight couple. So why is that different than gay penguins in this book? Why is that different? Straight is a sexual orientation too. Now, it's a sexual orientation that many of you prefer, and I understand that not everyone is not everyone has those sensibilities, but many of you do, and I would argue that the people banning a book about gay penguins probably do, but that's a different conversation for a different day. The banning of books stems from Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' education legislation he signed into law last year. Florida House Bill 1557, Parental Rights in Education, which was dubbed by critics as the Don't Say Gay bill, the law bans teachers from giving classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity in grades kindergarten through third grade. And again, I have to ask, are you banning all books about straight couples too? Because if you aren't going to ban books about straight couples, guess what? You look homophobic. And I'm not saying in the made up way, I'm saying in the real way. This is a situation, conservatives, and yes, this is conservatives. I know not everyone who listens to this podcast are conservative, but many of you are. This is a situation where you are not following the principles you claim to hold. Just because a couple is gay does not mean the book is an instruction manual on sexual orientation, just in the same way as just because the couple is straight does not mean that the book is a manual on sexual orientation. What's good for one is good for the other. And if you're not going to ban the straight stuff, but you are going to ban the gay stuff because apparently you hold it to a different standard, straight is a sexual orientation too. You look massively homophobic when you do this. The book banning itself was already bad enough, which I'm going to explain why again in a moment. But now, not only are we banning books, you are selectively banning books based on your religion and based on sensibilities that, I'm sorry, many of us who are fighting back against the woke left do not hold. And I personally, if I sound a little fiery in this podcast, I personally do not appreciate being associated with this type of stuff. I don't appreciate it. I don't consent. I don't care if third graders read a book about a family of gay penguins. I don't care. Is that book instructing them on how to have sex? No. Is that book teaching them about a loving family based on a true story? Yes. And just because you personally don't like the sexual orientation of that family does not mean that you need to saddle the rest of us with those sensibilities. This is going to cost us. When you do this, you will drive people away from fighting back against this in the schools. Maybe not in Florida. Maybe Florida's the only state that you guys care about anymore. Maybe you can all just move to Florida and focus all your homophobic policies on the state of Florida and leave the rest of us out of it. I don't know, and I don't really care anymore. The minute that the book banning shit started by Moms for Liberty in Tennessee about a year ago is the minute that we gave the left a monumental weapon to use against us every single time. And I am so tired of being associated with it. If books about straight couples are acceptable under your rules, but books about gay couples are not acceptable, even though there is no content difference between the books except for one is straight and one is gay, you look homophobic. It is not a good look. You are not going to win the battle against the woke left by becoming exactly what they say you are. It is not going to work. And I just don't know why you guys don't get this. I just don't know. Like, do the people who are doing this, I know this is a rant and I know I'm a little bit angry, but it's my podcast. Sometimes I'll do what I want. Do any of you do any of you really want to win? Those who are in favor of this? Do you really want to win? Because every single time that you do something that the woke left can easily portray as homophobic or centaurial in the media, which they do all, there's a reason that this Fox News article literally says conservatives are banning books. They will use everything against us that they can, and you are handing them material on a silver platter for no good reason, and you have won nothing, to the point that your own media outlets are turning against you. And if your own media outlets are turning against you, then what do you expect to happen in the general public? You are going to lose, and you are going to lose badly with these sensibilities. Back to the article. In Lake County, for example, the school district has removed 3 books with LGBTQ themes from libraries. The school district claimed the removal of books was required due to the sexual content, blah, blah, blah. And they're saying this is a pro-parent agenda. This is not a pro-parent agenda. This is a pro-Christian conservative agenda. And I understand that many of you are Christian conservatives, but what you need to understand is that many of us are not. Many of us, the people that are actually on the ground doing this stuff every single day, are not Christian. We do not care if gay people get married and have a family. We do not care. We do not believe that a book about gay penguins raising a little baby penguin together that is based on a true story is brainwashing your kids to be gay any more than we believe the Bernstein Bears is brainwashing your kids to be straight. And until you call for the Bernstein Bears to be banned from every kindergarten classroom in this country, I do not care about your opinion because you are a hypocrite. It is no different. No different at all. And now I want to explain why you are going to literally win nothing. This is from an article from my Substack, and I have done a previous podcast reading this article. It's called Please Stop with the Book Banning. And I'm not going to read the whole thing again. If you want to read it, you can head over to activelyunwoke.com/Substack. That will redirect you right to my Substack. And you can read it there, or you can listen to the previous podcast episode. But I do want to read you a section of the article because it is pertinent to the conversation that we're having right now. So you're going to say to me, but those books should be banned in schools. Why do you want to teach sex? You're a groomer, Carlin. You're a groomer. The reason that you want gay penguins in schools is that you must be a groomer, which, by the way, and this is a side note, you sound hysterical when you call everyone a groomer. You really do. I am one of the very few people out there that has exposed real grooming in schools. I am building a program to help expose real grooming in schools, to empower parents with real information, not this made up hysteria, real information. Do you know how many times I've been called a groomer by you people? Because I disagree with your stance on banning books about gay effing penguins? Do you have any idea? Do you have any idea how annoying it is to do this all day, every day? I have literally dedicated my life to doing this. And you get in my face as soon as I say, can you please stop with the book banning? You go, you're just a groomer. Are you kidding me? This is why you don't have allies. This is why you don't have people on your team. I don't know why I need to explain this. If you spit in the faces of people trying to help you over and over and over and over again, you will be perpetual losers. And you will deserve it. Because you brought it on yourself for no good reason. Just because someone told you something you didn't want to hear that hurts your fragile little feelings, because that's exactly what it is. Conservatives all the time say that they care about logic, where the left cares about emotion. It couldn't be further from the truth. You guys are some of the most emotional people I've ever met in my life. And that is why it is so hard to get people to fight for you. That's why Donald Trump a couple years ago was the only person that would do it. But keep shouting groomer, 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 groomer at people who disagree with you and see how that works out. I'm sure nothing could possibly go wrong. You won't destroy the thing that the rest of us are working towards or anything. I digress. Let me continue with this article. You're going to say all those things. You're going to call me groomer, groomer, groomer. I've heard it all a million times. Here's the thing. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Should these books be in school? No, and I'm not talking about the Penguin book, I'm talking about genderqueer. But what are you achieving by getting one book out of school? Or 2 or 10 because they're just going to replace them with different books that say the same thing anyway. Or a different lesson plan that they aren't going to deliver in the form of a book, but rather in the form of something they can download off the internet. The point is, this is a fire hose that you can't keep up with in that way. You get one, they'll replace it with 3 more. You're constantly chasing your tail, and they'll get more creative about how they're hiding it from you. They'll keep repeating until they wear you out, and you'll just stop trying. This is a war of attrition. The first side that gives up loses. The woke left knows this, and so they go out of their way to make every part of the process difficult until you lose interest and move on to the next thing in the news cycle that they tell you to care about. Remember, critical race theory is still in schools everywhere. The news just doesn't talk about it anymore. And I promise you, you are not even preventing your little darlings from reading the books you're getting pulled from libraries anyway. They're still going to read the Gay Penguin book, folks. If anything, you're making them more likely to read them. Do you seriously think that teachers that are fighting to teach these books aren't going to make sure your kids absolutely know that you got the book banned? And isn't it awful that your evil parents don't want you to read it? They're probably just homophobic. The teachers are going to say that. They can say whatever they want when that classroom door closes. Don't think that they won't find a way to do it. Your kids will be hiding those banned books under their mattresses the same way that boys used to hide Playboys. They're going to wonder, what's the big deal? Why don't they want me to see this? And then they're going to find the book and they're going to read it on their own, and they're probably going to read it a whole lot more closely than if they had found it by accident at the school library. Because do kids even go in libraries anymore? Can't they just find all the material online? You've literally made the book forbidden fruit. Do you think they're not going to go for it? Did you learn nothing from your Bibles? If the thing that you are focused on is banning the book about gay penguins that doesn't even teach about sexual orientation or any of that stuff, it's just, hey, here are these 2 male penguins that bonded, and then the zoo gave them an egg, and then the egg hatched, and then they had a little baby penguin, and then they raised them. Oh, yay. That's literally all that book says. There is nothing wrong with that book. Can we please stop this now? But of course, the only people who have gotten this far in the podcast are probably people who agree with me. If you're listening to this right now, you probably agree with me, and you are probably driven just as insane by the people doing this as I am. Because the people doing this, they shut off this podcast at the very beginning. As soon as I started yelling, they said, "Oh, she has a tone. Oh, my word, she is just like a leftist." That is exactly what they said, and I know that because I've heard it 8,000 times before. And this is the problem that we're dealing with, folks. This is the real problem. The problem is people not listening and people not really being serious about this fight. Conservatives, for the most part, I'm not saying all of them, there very well could be conservatives who agree with me on this issue. And if you do, I appreciate it. I really do. But I've said it a million times and I'm going to say it again. Conservatives are not going to save us. They are really not our allies for the most part. Conservatives are the 3-year-old in the kitchen that is quote unquote helping mom cook dinner, except they're not helping mom do anything. They're just making a big mess, but mom has to pretend that they're helping because you don't want the kid to cry and scream and wail, which is exactly what happens every time conservatives get told they really shouldn't be banning books. They go, "Groomer! Groomer! Groomer!" They cry just like that 3-year-old in the kitchen. So mom has to pretend that the 3-year-old is helping when in fact the 3-year-old is just making a giant mess, and mom has to cook dinner on her own, and then mom has to serve the dinner, and then mom puts the 3-year-old to bed, and then she's got to come back and clean up the mess that the 3-year-old made because it wasn't helpful to begin with. Now the 3-year-old has an excuse. He's 3. He's 3. Adult conservatives have no excuse. They just refuse to listen. And they have some of the most inflexible mindsets that I've ever seen in my life. And they continue to make mess after mess after mess after mess after mess after mess. And it holds the entire thing back. Make no mistake, when we lose to the woke left, and we are losing very badly, when we lose and their cultural revolution becomes unstoppable, it won't be because the woke left is the most competent at what they're doing, because they're not. They're dumb at what they're doing. But the fact that we are losing so badly to them, as dumb as what they are doing is a testament to the drag on our side by these people who are focusing more energy on banning books about penguins than they are on doing anything that matters. And if I have sounded frustrated in this podcast, it's because I actually care about winning. I just don't think enough people do. I hope I'm wrong. But if you want to win, you need to focus on things that actually matter. Banning the book about the gay penguin parents won nothing. It won you a national article on Fox News, where Fox effing News is literally saying you're banning books. Congratulations. That's going to be used against us forever and ever and ever. And anytime we try to go into the schools to try to get real things done, real things accomplished, like looking at equity policy and these diversity teams that are popping up in teacher training and how this stuff is integrated into the curriculum for real, not the gay penguin book that's not integrated into the curriculum. You think that that's bad? They're doing things that are way worse. But anytime we try to fight this shit, the very first thing that comes up is you tried to ban the book about the gay penguins, and that loses us every person in the middle who, generally speaking, are actually on our side, but they don't want to be associated with you when you're banning books about gay effing penguins. There is nothing that you can do to drive people away faster than become the actual homophobes that they want you to be. And it hurts all of us. And it hurts the overall fight. And it hurts our ability to get anything done. And it hurts our ability to wake more people up. It hurts our ability to red pill more people. It hurts our ability to get people to leave the Democratic Party. It hurts our ability to do every single thing we need to do that is actually productive. That's why I'm angry. Because these mistakes have been getting made over and over and over and over and over again. And if you call Moms for Liberty out on this bullshit, they just block you on Twitter and pretend another didn't happen. And then they go raise another $1 million from their big time donors to get us in even more trouble in the first place. They are literally the 3-year-old in the kitchen that is making a giant mess. And at some point, we're not going to be able to clean up after them, folks. I don't know what else to tell you. I can't be the only person screaming about this. Because they aren't going to listen until more people start speaking up and there are actual consequences. So I'm going to go focus on things that matter now. Thank you to the conservatives who wanted to ban the gay penguin book for, again, making my job harder than it needs to be. I really, really appreciate it, guys. Way to go.